Good day and welcome to the webinar, Keeping Communities Safe While FirstNet is More Than Just a Network. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sandra Wendelken. I'm the editor of Mission Critical Communications Magazine, and I'll be moderating the webinar today. Get Wireless and Sierra Wireless are the webinar sponsors. We hope you and your families are safe and healthy, and we appreciate you joining us during these unusual times. And that said, we are very glad you have joined in because we have some excellent information and several expert presenters scheduled for today's webinar. We'll include time at the end of the webinar for questions, and we will do our best to wrap up the webinar in an hour to be courteous of everyone's time. Before we begin, I want to briefly explain a few of the user features of the GoToWebinar service. You're listening in using your computer speaker system by default, but if you would prefer to join over the phone, just select telephone in the audio pane and the dial-up information will be displayed. You will also have the opportunity to submit questions to today's presenters by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You can send your questions in anytime during the presentation. We will collect the questions and address them during the Q&A at the end of today's presentation. The presenters have made a PDF of the slide presentation available. You will see a handouts pane in your control panel. Click the name of click the name of the file and it will automatically download to your default web browser. Just click the downloaded file to open or save it. Finally, a recording of the webinar will be emailed to all registrants and about 24 hours after the webinar, and it will also be available at mccmag.com. Now for more on our presenters. Bob Corrado is the channel manager at FirstNet in the Global Public Sector Solutions. He's been working with integrated communications providers for more than 30 years, the last being with AT&T. Bob is dedicated to helping customers solve their problems by providing connectivity and hardware as a sales manager, application expert, and technical overlay. As the FirstNet channel manager, Bob helps his customers navigate FirstNet in the public sector, education, and enterprise. As a former firefighter and paramedic, Eldon Mast, our second presenter, focuses much of his current efforts on enabling enhanced 911 and FirstNet services as they transform the first responder safety and effectiveness landscape. Sierra Wireless Solutions and Interoperability Roadmaps provide agencies with unprecedented cellular coverage mapping, client-less federal-grade security, and tight control management analytics of their mobility technologies. Rollout of public safety-grade pervasive connectivity in and around public safety response vehicles is Eldon's current passion. Sean Cooper, our third presenter, is the Director of Business Development, supporting all aspects of the FirstNet dealer program at Get Wireless, including sales, business development, and operational responsibility. Sean is a longtime wireless veteran, having supported and sold to multiple Tier 1 U.S. carriers while enjoying successful sales leadership roles for multiple smartphone OEMs. An award-winning salesperson, Sean brings his extensive carrier knowledge and a strong history of building and influencing sales channels to the Get Wireless team. And now for our webinar agenda today. We are going to begin with some information about what FirstNet is and its benefits, and then we will discuss which Sierra Wireless devices are FirstNet ready and what that means. Our presenters will also overview several FirstNet customer examples and successes, and then move on to how Get Wireless can help customers and partners implement FirstNet. With that, we'll get started. Thank you again for joining us, and Bob will now begin our presentation.
Thank you, Sandra. So good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Get Wireless, Sierra, and the FirstNet teams, we really appreciate you joining today's call. We'd also like to thank any first responders, doctors, nurses, and all the frontline workers who might be joining us for all that you're doing in these really crazy and unusual times. We really do thank you. Our objective for today's call is to provide a high-level overview of FirstNet, what it is, and how it's assisting in today's environment. And I'm also joined today by Steve Driscoll, who's the FirstNet Indirect Channel Sales Manager, who may chime in from now and then. So with that, let's get started. So what exactly is FirstNet for those that may not be aware? And I'm going to go ahead and read the mission statement that you see on the screen, as I know that everybody's not on the web. But FirstNet is the nationwide public safety broadband network, services and solutions dedicated to first responders and those who support them. It's more than a network, including advanced services, applications, and purpose-built devices. So really, by us working with you, we're really committed to advancing public safety and making your communications simpler, faster, and more collaborative. And then the last thing I want to mention on this screen here is I want to be really clear that there's only one nationwide first responders network with a physically separate, dedicated core with strict government oversight, and that is FirstNet. And if you don't mind moving the slide. Perfect. So here I'm going to share a little bit of information about the timeline. And just to give you a little bit of the history, the concept of the dedicated network for first responders came as a recommendation of the FCC 911 Commission report. And since then, it had been a major initiative of our government to oversee the efforts, and the First Responders Network Authority was established. And then in 2017, AT&T was honored for the opportunity to provide capabilities to build FirstNet. And after a lot of education around the country, all 50 states and territories opted in, which was a really big deal. And then in 2019, we hit a big milestone with the millionth customer, and 10,000 agencies had joined the network. So really, we've come a long way from concept to actually be up and running. And at the end of the day, if you look at what we're going through today and the way communications have changed over the last 4 months or so, you can really think that FirstNet was built for times exactly like this. So if you can advance, please. Perfect. So there's a couple different types of examples of users that are allowed to get on the FirstNet network. The primary users are going to be your police, your fire, your law, your emergency management, your public safety answering points, and your EMA. Also, another big one that's really taken off for primary users are your trauma centers, your ER, and other medical personnel deemed as critical to ER and ambulance service. You also have a big extended category, extended primary category that's really exploded, and that's within the healthcare space as well, as there's all types of new use cases that have come up with the need for FirstNet in hospitals as everybody's kind of scrambling to make everything work and connectivity be transparent. So medical personnel deemed necessary to support ER services for doctors and nurses. We've seen a lot of activity for pop-up hospitals, testing facilities, contact tracers, and the list really just goes on from there. So healthcare has really exploded. Other big extended primary category is utilities. So if you think of linesmen and lineswomen that come in after the event. So just to be a little clearer, your primary are going to be first to the scene, and then your extended primary are going to be those that come and assist after, during, and or after to help clean up. So from a utilities perspective, linesmen and lineswomen might come in to fix, down power lines. Tree removal services come in. They're going to help clean up any tree debris that might have happened from a hurricane. Your excavating companies coming in to fix roads. And then transportation is also another big one. So if you think about bus companies, they could be used for evacuations in situations where hurricanes are coming. And transportation companies, and those are used quite often. Also, education for radio replacement within buses is a big place that's really a big extended primary category. So replacing land mobile radios and providing interoperability. Also using modems like Sierra. Modems in buses is another one. You're also talking about private security and faculty and administration participating in emergency safety operations are other categories. But at the end of the day, not everybody's able to get onto the FirstNet network. FirstNet Authority has strict rules and guidelines of exactly who can get on and who can't get on. And that's all done to keep the integrity of the network working for times when it's in high use. And we want to make sure that it's working perfectly like it is today. So if you can go to the next slide, please. Perfect. So this is an infographic that kind of shows a lot about FirstNet and a lot of the things that really have come about as the numbers are really starting to grow. So the first thing I just want to mention is it's always on. It's always 24/7 priority and preemption across voice and data communications. There's no need to do anything. There's no need to type in codes to be able to get that access. So when you subscribe to FirstNet and you get that black SIM card, it's automatic. Also, I mentioned there's a physically separated core, which is dedicated to public safety. And again, this is only available if you have that black FirstNet SIM and you only have the proper equipment to be able to operate it on, which is the band class 14 equipment, which is FirstNet certified. Again, the big difference between us and our competition is the FirstNet network has government oversight and accountability, which means everything that we have to do is we're contracted to build and maintain the network. We have to account to the government, and there's things that we have to do to make sure that we're meeting the networks, the metrics. Otherwise, there's hefty fines that could be put in place. So it's a great public-private partnership that we have with the FirstNet Authority. But at the end of the day, they hold us accountable to make sure that everything that is said needs to be done by a specific time. Also, another big feature is there's no throttling on the FirstNet network. So you never have to worry about in those high times of need of the network that your carrier is ever going to throttle you. So it's really important to know that there are carriers out there that do throttle their customers, and that could be a problem when you're in an emergency situation. Also, all the users have prioritized access on all AT&T LTE bands. So although the band 14 is the public safety network spectrum, all users also have all band access to AT&T with priority on them. Another important part is there's also over 125 certified applications. Enhanced Push-to-Talk is one of the big applications that's highly utilized within the FirstNet ecosystem. It's been around for a while. It's tried and proven. It's highly utilized for a lot of situations from an interoperability perspective. It gives public safety agencies the ability to go outside of their radio network from a coverage perspective. Also helps with capacity. And also, we just are launching our new FirstNet Push-to-Talk, which meets the 3GPP standards for mission critical. So we are in the early stages of that, and I'm not saying that that is a mission critical radio today, although it does meet the standards. It's ever evolving, and it's going to be a really exciting product as we move along. So there are also over 1.4 million FirstNet connections that are on the network today as it just continues to grow. These connections consist of phones, data devices, and modems like your Sierra modems, over 12,000 public safety agencies, and then the coverage is really expansive. We've got over 2.61 million miles of LTE coverage as it stands today, and just in 2019, we put an additional 120,000 square miles of LTE coverage. So the coverage is very expansive. We're on a 5-year build plan and being held accountable by the FirstNet Authority, and we are well on our way to meeting the obligation with them. Also, there's over 700 markets now with Band 14. So again, that's the Band 14 is the public safety spectrum that was awarded as part of the FirstNet Public Safety Network, and that's really considered the gold standard in frequency and band. So that's available now in 700 markets. As far as deployable assets, we have 76 dedicated deployable assets that are available to any FirstNet subscriber. So any agency that has even one FirstNet subscription has the ability to request a deployable asset. And those are flying, those can be, sat colts, they could be cows, they can be flying cows. We now have a Aerostat and FirstNet 1, but those assets are used all the time. And if you think about when you might need a deployable asset like that, think about times of being in, the wildfires where coverage may not be so great. And places like that, if the network has been compromised by a hurricane or a tornado and assets are down, customers can call in and they could request one of these deployable assets. And Fred Scalera, who runs that team, just does an amazing job, him and his team, to make sure that those things are all coordinated in the most professional manner. So over 80% of the network now has been equipped with Band 14 coverage, which is just absolutely remarkable. And at the end of the day, it's the fastest network out there, faster than any commercial network. So if you can go on to the next slide. All right, so this is going to show us the FirstNet equipment. From a FirstNet equipment perspective, there's over 140 FirstNet ready certified devices. The devices need to be Band 14, again, and FirstNet ready. All devices can be found at firstnet.com or on the AT&T site, or you can look at the NIST list. to be able to determine what devices are going to work on the network. And you're probably wondering why I'm showing a candy bar style phone on there and just kind of all rugged devices. I just want to make sure it's very clear that from a FirstNet perspective, all your Apple, your Samsung, your Kyocera, all the standard devices that you would normally utilize are certainly all available from a FirstNet perspective. You've got all of your modems like the Sierra modem that you see there, and Eldon's certainly going to talk a lot more about that in a few minutes. And then we have a wide variety of accessories like your hotspots and your tablets, some rugged. And I'm going to get back to the candy bar style phone, and the reason that we show that is because I talked about FirstNet enhanced push to talk, and that's one of the highly utilized devices that's used for that type of an application because it's a great radio augmentation piece of equipment. It's very basic. It's the most durable phone in the world, and it's got a big push to talk button on it. And that's just an example from an application perspective of what we can offer, because FirstNet's not just about fast service and great service, but it's really about solutions and applications and being able to equip our first responders and extended primary users with the communication that they need. And if you can go to the next slide, please. All right, so this picture represents what first responders do on a daily basis, right? There's a lot going on at the scene, and the last thing they really need to do is worry about communications. When they are working the way that they are, they just want communications to work, period. They don't want to have to fuss or do anything with it. So, FirstNet really does that. It really provides interoperability amongst individuals and between agencies. And again, I've talked about push to talk, but this is a perfect scenario where police can talk to fire can talk to EMS, and they can talk to the hospital, all using instant communication platform that's out there with interoperability tying into their land mobile radio system. You see the ambulance there, and again, that's another perfect example of a place to put a modem, right? So most ambulances are fitted with Sierra and or other types of modems that power your mobile data terminals. They can send EKGs and work a variety of different types of applications. And if you can go to the next slide, please, I appreciate that. So this slide represents kind of an incident, right? So you've got the incident, the first responder is your primary first responder, and that was the primary category that I talked about a little while ago. And then the extended primary, those that come in and support as, so you see the bus there as your transportation, your utility and whatnot. And really it's an effort to all teams to work together to resolve the incident is the bottom line. And some of the things that have happened from a use case perspective recently, in regards to COVID, is in New York City, we deployed portable cell sites and a new temporary in-building solution increased network capacity for first responders and emergency staff. We equipped ambulances, as mentioned earlier, with FirstNet Ready Ultra Rugged XP 8 devices made by Sonam with enhanced push to talk. So that's something that just is constantly used on the network. We ensured connectivity for the USNS Comfort in New York and the USNS Mercy in Los Angeles to alleviate overcrowding in local hospitals. And then from a deployable standpoint, in Northern California, FirstNet portable cell sites were deployed at no additional charge to a medical facility to provide additional capacity, keep emergency personnel connected. So those are just a few of the use cases that have taken place. And if you can advance, please. Perfect. So as we're winding down, here is a few of the examples of the FirstNet metrics during COVID pandemic. We've seen a major increase in demand for public safety, state health departments, and first responders. 450 plus agencies have joined or expanded the COVID response, and the traffic on the network has been over 2 times the normal. So what that tells us and illustrates is all the agencies are really seeing and understanding the power of FirstNet and the nationwide first responders network and what it can do, and they're relying on the times when everything has changed, right? Everything has changed. Nobody's doing anything that they used to do. People are working from home. People need new solutions, and they are flocking to FirstNet to be able to allow us to provide the proper solution for them. So I think that was it. So, in closing, I hope that was a good high-level overview of the power and the capabilities. We have Sierra and Get Wireless are coming up, and you'll learn about equipment and solutions and services. You'll be able to find some great FirstNet promotions at firstnet.com. And up next, we have Eldon Mast, who is going to talk to us about which Sierra devices are FirstNet ready and some customer successes and examples. So over to you, Eldon.
Hey, Bob, thanks so much. And again, really appreciate everyone joining us, especially those who are in the front lines. And as a former firefighter and paramedic, I am, it's in my DNA, and I'm with you all in spirit. More specifically, talking about Sierra Wireless, what are, you see all the bullet points here, but quite frankly, one of the reasons that I've joined Sierra, really boils down to three things. It's like Sierra has been a financially viable firm for the last 27 years. That's really important to me when I think about the equipment that is mission critical for my needs as a first responder. Sierra has and continues to focus on being a trusted partner. And when I think of the scene of an emergency, my partner is the most important thing to me in that scenario. I need to have a trusted partner, and the speed of trust is critical when seconds count. To that point, Sierra has been ultra focused for the last 5 years in putting together a roadmap that focuses on and with the FirstNet Authority. And then as AT&T was awarded the FirstNet contract, the 25-year contract, we continue to align with AT&T and FirstNet to put together a roadmap. So financial stability, a trusted partner, and roadmaps that focus on FirstNet continues to have me look to Sierra Wireless as the equipment provider of choice. How do we work with FirstNet? It really is quite simple. You know it when you're talking about cellular service, you're talking about coverage, security, and control. How do we do that? Most of you look at the equipment in your vehicles, that radio, that piece of hardware that many call a modem or a gateway or a router. Really, that's the tangible thing that has the Sierra logo on that you'll recognize as Sierra. But Sierra brings more than that. There's significant amount of software effort that continues to be developed, and you'll continue to see over time how those software pieces fit together to provide not only that tangible connectivity to the FirstNet network and superior pervasive coverage, but also security. Once you have connectivity, you want those data communications to be secure. And then, as you know, as a first responder, the ability to control those devices remotely, particularly in times like a pandemic, to control those devices remotely, to be able to decontaminate those devices becomes, a very significant piece of not only the connectivity, the security, but also the control. So this is the hardware. This is what you see in and around your vehicle or connected to your devices. These three gateways are FirstNet ready, and as I mentioned, we continue to work with the FirstNet Authority, with AT&T as the subcontractor to FirstNet and FirstNet.com to continue to create a world-class lineup and roadmap for additional devices. You'll also see the external antennas that you'll recognize, whether they're shark fin or dome antennas on the top of your vehicles. It really is what creates either a Wi-Fi bubble around your vehicle or that multi-carrier high bandwidth connectivity to the FirstNet network. So it's this piece of these pieces of hardware that are the tangible pieces, and we'll talk a bit more about what these tangible pieces do in conjunction with security and control. Many of these devices will fit in your vehicle. So we talked about, primary users and extended primary users. For public safety fleets, obviously, for FirstNet, primary users include police, fire, and EMS fleets. And again, these devices help you secure your voice, data, and video connectivity in and around your vehicles. The two models that we have demonstrated here are our MG90 and MP70, which were first to market in terms of band 14 capability and interconnection across all of the FirstNet bands on the AT&T spectrum. How do these devices fit in the vehicle? And this is where the simplicity of the Sierra Wireless solution combined with FirstNet comes in, and the return on the investment of these, specifically a use case. I'm going to hop into a couple of use cases here, and specifically in law enforcement. One of our large trusted partners in Southern California really began to evaluate our equipment and began to look at how they would interconnect their e-ticketing machines, their body-worn cameras, interconnecting into their engine diagnostics. When they realized they could connect to those engine diagnostics in addition to their laptops and their automatic license plate recognition cameras, they realized by interconnecting to those engine diagnostics, they were able to determine driver behavior, affect officer safety, and maybe a secondary thought in these sometimes troubling times, or in the case of our pandemic. But officer safety is key for those E911 operators to first determine, where I'm responding, is it safe? Is it safe to respond? Where I'm traveling, and how I'm driving, is it safe for the particular conditions? What this really did, as you can see up in the right-hand corner, with the X on it, reducing officer crashes in scenarios where some agencies, in particular with some of our trusted partners, have auto accidents at least once a week, can really be a huge savings in their insurance premiums if officer safety is accelerated, and that savings can be passed on in insurance premiums. Bob mentioned, many ambulances have Sierra Wireless inside, and quite frankly, it's more like 85% of the ambulances in North America have the equivalent of an MG90, and just to be clear, if it was my family or if I was the paramedic in the back of the ambulance, that's the device of choice for me. Another application on the next slide, in first responders in engine pumps and ladders. Ladder Truck 23 was my truck company. And as you all know, interconnectivity between the ladder company, the engine company, the pumper company, as well as EMS and law enforcement is really why FirstNet was developed for those interoperable incidents. And what we oftentimes forget, Bob did a great job of setting this up in terms of the other extended primary users. Extended primary users, whether they're the city transit buses or other types of vehicles or other types of devices that are included in emergency planning, whether that is the mitigation of an emergency, the remediation after, the overhaul or the cleanup, the restoration, the new service provisioning, whether it's during or in the aftermath of an emergency, all of those extended primary folks are quite essential to first responders and those essential government services, whether they're education or transportation or utilities, provide significant help in many times to the first responders and primary FirstNet users. And Sierra Wireless, it is at the forefront of helping put that equipment in place to interconnect to FirstNet. Back to coverage, security, and control. At the end of the day, what does it mean when I put one of these devices in my vehicle? I'm looking for pervasive coverage. I'm looking for public safety grade coverage. And what you see depicted here is one of the first agencies to interconnect with FirstNet in Southeast Pennsylvania took our coverage mapping challenge, and you can see how pervasive the FirstNet network was in their particular jurisdiction. We've performed these coverage maps for over 50 agencies, and with FirstNet have continued to put together a campaign that I'll mention a little bit later, where you can also be provided with free coverage mapping. Take the coverage mapping challenge, really see for yourself where FirstNet coverage is. It's your perception of where coverage might be is shocking. And this particular agency, they were shocked when they realized that coverage on FirstNet was as pervasive as it is. New technologies continue to evolve, and many of you are familiar with high power user equipment. Sierra Wireless, along with Get Wireless, is at the forefront of working with the leaders in high power user equipment. You will have seen recent announcements from Assured Wireless and AirGain with their AirGain Connect product. That is all about creating these coverage maps, pervasive coverage, even in very challenging geographies and topographies. Once you have coverage and you have rock solid pervasive coverage, you start thinking about security. I need to do CJIS compliance. I need to have HIPAA requirements that need to be adhered to. Many folks, when you talk about security, think about VPNs, and they think about installing VPNs on their devices. What happens then when there are Internet of Things devices where I can't install a VPN client, or I need to upgrade a VPN client on my laptop? We've put together a very, very interesting and patented technology that provides clientless security across your entire network and in conjunction with FirstNet, the FirstNet network. So client security is a hallmark of what Sierra Wireless can provide in and around your vehicles and connected to your IoT devices. The next slide shows control of your devices. That advanced equipment control, once you have coverage, once you are certain that your network is secure, coverage becomes paramount. I'm sorry, control becomes paramount. You need to be able to remotely control those devices. You need to be able to perform things in and around the devices that you're connected to. This is a very simple capability that Sierra sets up and provides either your IT personnel or your designates. Extended primary users are connected as well. You can see the grid, and security here is a paramount concern with either your grid or other utilities like water utilities. One such example in Northern Virginia, we worked with FirstNet to secure the water capabilities in that jurisdiction. And as Bob mentioned earlier, pop-up health facility workers, this is where, again, security is extremely important. But as I mentioned earlier, decontamination is also of significant importance. And you can see that these FirstNet ready devices are also quite easily decontaminated. So as promised, I mentioned the ability to provide a free demo of the coverage mapping. If you look at the very bottom of your screen, you'll see the URL digital.firstnet.com/try-Sierra. Please, if you are interested in receiving a free coverage mapping kit, which includes a FirstNet ready router from Sierra Wireless and an activated FirstNet SIM to do coverage mapping, as you saw in the earlier slide, please go there, see the YouTube video there, understand a bit more of what's involved in doing that and taking that coverage mapping challenge and receiving a FirstNet local coverage mapping demonstration. Also, some very important instant rebate programs are ongoing, for a limited time. And if you hit that coverage mapping challenge link, we can go into more details about what that looks like financially for you. Both promotions from FirstNet, from Sierra Wireless in the current environment. With that, I think it's time to turn things over to our partner, fantastic partner, Get Wireless. Sean, please take it away.
Thanks, Eldon. I appreciate it. So I'll kind of bring us home today. I wanted to start by saying it's awesome to be with everyone virtually. Thanks to our great partners, Bob and the FirstNet team, and Eldon and the team from Sierra Wireless, and everybody who helped make today's presentation possible. Like my colleague said, I also wanted to express a deep thank you on behalf of the Get Wireless team to all of those keeping us safe from the front lines. That allows us to keep focused on what we do well, which is keep you connected. We wish everyone continued health and safety as we continue to service your needs across the country. I wanted to start a little bit with the Get Wireless story. So Get Wireless, if you haven't met us before, we were founded back in 2001 by a pair of gentlemen that are still part of our executive leadership team today. We're headquartered in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, which is where in normal circumstances you'll find the bulk of our team. We do have an outside sales team that's geographically based throughout the United States. As Eldon said, our partnership with Sierra Wireless goes back many, many years, and it really is, it's more than a partnership, it's a tremendous relationship that we're very proud of. As you can see here in 2009, or since 2009, we've been Sierra Wireless's Distributor of the Year, something we're very proud of. In 2007, we made a very key pivot in the history of the business for Get Wireless, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a few minutes, but we moved from being a reseller to being a value-added distributor. And I want to talk about, again, how we can enable connecting you with FirstNet, and really that's a key piece to that solution for us. A couple other highlights that I'll just mention very quickly. You can see as the years have gone by that we've made some very strategic additions to our portfolio and our lineup. Again, these are very smart and strategic additions to our portfolio. In 2019, for the 9th time, we were honored to make the list of the Inc. 5000 fastest growing private companies. And then something that's near and dear to my own heart is in 2019, our executive leadership team started saying, how can we add connectivity as both something to our product portfolio and to our many value-added services that we provide to our partners and end users. And so we started evaluating carrier programs, and we started looking who can we best partner with. And go ahead and go next slide, please, Laura. In the meantime, AT&T was building an awesome program for FirstNet, working to get that solution, their amazing solution, into the hands of the front lines, first responders and extended primary customers throughout the country. So we looked at that synergy very favorably. Our focus on public safety, the great solution that they have, the strategic portfolio that we have in stock and ready to ship. And again, Eldon talked a lot about, but we have many leading FirstNet ready devices, leading antennas, signal boosters, cellular accessories and solutions that we have, again, in-house and ready to ship. Ultimately, what we wanted to do is simplify that process for our partners and for our end user customers to be that single source of hardware and connectivity. Give our partners and customers the ability to save time and money by having the entire order shipped from the same location. We offer many professional services and value-added services that I'll touch on a little bit more in a few moments, but also allowing that or achieving that single point of contact for both pre and post-sale support. Ultimately, by bringing this in-house, again, what this allows Get Wireless to do is quarterback you through a custom solution and a collaborative co-sell environment made up of the FirstNet sales team, our sales team, our great partners like Sierra Wireless, and as I'll talk about in a minute, our nationwide network of value-added resellers and system integrators and partners so that we can help you with a custom solution. Again, the entire goal is to simplify that process of putting FirstNet's game-changing technology into the hands of first responders and making that very easy. Next slide. Okay, so I mentioned this a minute ago. This was a key pivot for us back in 2007 as we went from this kind of resale model to a value-added distributor. And again, what I want to hone my message around is how we can enable either the end customer or a channel partner that's listening in today with us, how we enable and simplify this getting connected with FirstNet on great hardware, FirstNet ready devices like Sierra Wireless. So we sell many IoT solutions across a variety of vertical markets, mobility, industrial, enterprise, fleet, many types of end user customers, municipalities, public safety, agencies, utilities, many more. The way we bring this to market is through this experienced nationwide community of channel partners. So you'll see value-added resellers, system integrators, OEM solutions providers, even mobile network operators. So a couple of things why this is really relevant to the end user or maybe public safety agency listening in today. Number one, Get Wireless is not broadline distribution. I mentioned over the years we've very strategically grown our portfolio, but ultimately we are not focused on shipping boxes from a line card full of thousands of lines of product. Instead, we focused on services, consultation, pre and post-sale support, all of the value adds for our resale partners, which ultimately benefit the end customer. I noted just a couple here that I wanted to highlight. For example, in-stock items ship the same day. We can do custom handling and drop shipping services. We offer provisioning, testing, kitting. We can do custom cabling. We do a tremendous amount of training, marketing efforts for partners as well, tier 1 and 2 technical support. Ultimately, again, what this allows our team to do, our sales team, is quarterback this process and really have true expertise and consultation focused on our strategic product portfolio. The other thing is, if you were to go to try to build out this nationwide network of distributed partners, it would almost be impossible to scale. By doing it through system integrators, resellers, and partners throughout the country, it allows us to tap into expertise and locality of a distributed sales organization. So if you're the end user, public safety agency, retail, utility company, individual buyer, etc., what we can do is connect you with a partner that can help you address your needs, whatever that need may be. However technical it is, if we want to do installation, whatever kind of specialty technical support is needed, Get Wireless can connect you with a partner from our network that can support that. And again, we've got a distribution network throughout the country. I wanted to talk just really quickly as well about two paths. So again, this FirstNet relationship as a FirstNet dealer with us is new, but we are extremely excited about the program. We have tremendous momentum, and Steve and Bob and our FirstNet channel team is amazing support. And so again, what we want to offer to end users and our channel community is one of these two paths. We can activate now on the Get Wireless can streamline the process to get connected on the FirstNet network. So again, we offer much more than just shipping boxes. We'll guide you through the process, answer all your questions, help quarterback you through the sales solution. We do pre and post sales consultation, technical support. Again, I've mentioned our extensive inventory that is in stock and ready to ship. If you're looking to become a FirstNet dealer, we invite you to become a part of our collaborative sales model that's made up of the FirstNet sales team, FirstNet indirect channel management team, great partners like Sierra, and our Get Wireless sales team. We offer tons of FirstNet training, marketing, sales collateral, and the benefit of that is, again, everyone can stay within their lane of expertise. Our channel partners can focus on hardware, and the FirstNet team can support us through getting that end user connected with FirstNet. Again, we truly set out to be a single source. And I wanted to mention this as well through our relationship with FirstNet. Because this is a collaborative sales model, and again, our focus is on IoT and connectivity, but we have access to all the portfolio of FirstNet ready devices, and again, Get Wireless can quarterback you through the process, even including all the products that Bob showed earlier, whether that be ruggedized laptop or handset or anything that goes along with the solutions that Eldon was discussing earlier. I did want to mention a great sales promotion. So as Eldon said, we would love any and all to take this coverage mapping challenge. But in addition to that, we've got a great promo going on right now as a FirstNet dealer that the FirstNet team has worked very hard to make our customers eligible for. It's $300 off eligible devices with new activations. You can find all the details online, as Bob mentioned, to review promotions, but all the great products that Eldon discussed earlier, the RV55, the MP70, and the MG90 are all qualifying FirstNet hardware. So again, this is a tremendous promotion for a limited time, and we wanted to extend that offer and make you guys aware of this unbelievable promotion. And last, as I kind of close out, if you're looking for more information, so obviously firstnet.com, sierrawireless.com, Eldon mentioned again the coverage tool site, getwirelessllc.com is a great resource, but our marketing team has also worked with FirstNet to put some of the best resources and materials available here at this site, FNReady, getwirelessllc.com. Again, there's infographics, videos, one-pagers, all kinds of information. This is a great jumping off point if you're looking to do more research, or if you want to take the next step and say you'd like to get in contact with any of us from the presentation today. There's a spot to submit for more information, and this is a great, again, a great spot to start the journey if you want to learn more or if you want to get connected with FirstNet. With that, again, I want to thank all of my peers and everyone on the call today. And again, from the entire Get Wireless team, our appreciation to everyone as you continue to keep communities safe. Although things are changing around us very quickly, It won't impact our ability to ship hardware and offer our customers the highest level of support and service. Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Sean, and thank you, Bob and Eldon as well. It's great information to have as things change in our wireless world. I'm going to begin asking some questions from our attendees, and remember, you can type in a question to me at any time. This first question is probably more for you, Bob, although Eldon and Sean jump in too. The attendee already has equipment and is wondering if he can use his current equipment and move to the FirstNet network.
So, okay, yeah, I can take that. So the key to having a piece of equipment on the FirstNet network is the piece of equipment has to be FirstNet certified and band 14, have band 14 in it, is the short answer. So if you're an existing AT&T customer today and you have the proper FirstNet ready band 14 device and you qualify for FirstNet, then the answer is yes, you would be able to migrate that user over to FirstNet again with the proper approval from the FirstNet authority. If you're coming from another carrier and you have a piece of equipment, the answer is no. So although devices may look and feel and have very similar model numbers, we do not accept devices from another carrier to go on the FirstNet network. There's very specific reasons around that. Again, it may look the same, it may have a very similar model number, but we want to make sure that devices on the FirstNet network with a FirstNet Black SIM work seamlessly. And there's no guarantee devices from other carriers that don't have those specifications are going to work. So we do not allow any other devices that are not FirstNet ready in band 14 on the FirstNet core network.
Okay.
Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, no, that's good information. Thank you. The next question is, Eldon, you talked a lot about coverage. This question is how FirstNet and Sierra, this attendee's in a tough to cover terrain, where a lot of our attendees likely are, but in this, he's wondering how FirstNet and Sierra can guarantee optimal connectivity in his difficult to cover area.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a question that almost every agency that I've engaged with has at least some challenges with respect to coverage, or at least some perceived challenges with respect to coverage. And there are a couple of things that we've done in the past, and there are many things that are being developed in the future with our roadmaps to allow for continued improvement in what I'll call pervasive coverage. Just quickly to mention a couple of them. The ability, for instance, in our MG90 product to use multiple cellular carriers and essentially knit together with what we call a cognitive networking allows, even in areas where a particular cellular carrier or even FirstNet has not yet been built out, if there is cellular connectivity by any other carrier, that carrier can be essentially knitted together with the MG90 to provide additional coverage. Even an old LMR network that has, or a satellite network that doesn't have as high speed connectivity can also be part of that solution for pervasive coverage. Some exciting technologies that I mentioned as well come from AirGain and Assured Wireless, which also increase the radius with high power user equipment, class 1 power equipment, in combination with the towers that FirstNet is building out to support such high power. Band 14 is the only band on which this high power classification and increased radius in coverage is certified and allowed by the FCC. So that's very, very interesting technology. Get Wireless, FirstNet, Sierra Wireless are all working together as channel partners, again, as trusted partners, along with AirGain and Assured Wireless, to make sure that as those technologies roll out, first responders have the ability to use them to create pervasive coverage capabilities.
Okay, great, good information. Sean and Eldon, you guys both mentioned several promotions, and so we have an attendee asking whether the promotions can be stacked. For example, the RV55 $75 instant rebate along with the $300 service credit.
Yeah, great question. The short answer to that is yes.
Okay, that was an easy one. Good.
Yeah, that's a great question, and thanks to whoever asked that question to highlight that. And
Okay.
those are
Yeah, and
stackable.
I'll actually hop in here as well. This is Eldon. You can stack the free coverage mapping challenge, as well as the $75 rebate, as well as the $300 service credit. All are available and can be stacked.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. All right, so we have another question about, this is kind of important in our new health focused world, about how the networks are designed to be CGIS and HIPAA compliant for the public safety workers out there.
I'll hop in on that one. It's Eldon again at Sierra Wireless. We talked about clientless security, and essentially what we do is we come in and help you build, along with FirstNet, what we call a supernet that, end to end, whether it's from your EKG machine all the way into the emergency room, that entire path is essentially a supernet, essentially a clientless secure path from essentially from the curb all the way into the ER room. There are a lot of components in and around and in between, including all of the devices that are being touched. But quite frankly, we set this up, we make it quite transparent to the user. And as IT departments work with us, they see it's also quite an easy setup to create that CGIS HIPAA super security network.
Okay, great. I think this is probably another question tailored to Bob. How do you know if your organization qualifies for the FirstNet service?
Yeah, great question. So general rule of thumb is if you're a frontline worker, again, a first responder, police, fire, EMS, in the healthcare category we talked about earlier, you're going to qualify for FirstNet. If you're an assisting agency, as backup, then it gets a little trickier. The general rule of thumb is if you have an agency or a company that does assist after a situation happens, again, it could be a tree removal service, it could be utility, whatever it may be. There is a very specific guidelines that have been established by the FirstNet Authority. It's ever evolving, and we need to take a look at each use case as they we need to look at each use case, and we would do that. You can come to me to determine that, or you can go to your FirstNet Solutions consultant, but every case is different. There are a lot of approved cases, but the general rule of thumb is you really need to have a contract between the state, the local, or the county agency showing that you do work on behalf of to help in this type of a situation. So if you can provide that type of documentation and it's not already in the use case, then we would go to the FirstNet Authority to work on getting that approved. But it's a case-by-case basis.
Okay, great. We're hitting our time here, but I'll ask one more that just came in. So this attendee has handsets that he wants to activate on FirstNet, but is also interested in learning about the Sierra wireless products as well. Do you have to go to 2 different sources for the activations? How does that work with the different equipment?
Yeah, I'll answer that. This is Sean from Get Wireless. So again, I tried to address this. Again, this is a great question. The way, and Bob, you can chime in here as well, but the way that the FirstNet channel team has built this collaborative sales environment that Get Wireless is a part of as a FirstNet dealer is, again, we can be a one-stop shop for initiating the conversation, and then we can support you with activation for any FirstNet ready device, including, the Sierra Wireless products that we've discussed today, or handset activations. So we can go through that consultative process, and there's, again, we can be a one-stop shop for you to initiate that and take that through activation.
All right, great. Makes it easy. Okay, so that's all the time that we have today. If we didn't get to your question, we will work to get the answers and follow up as soon as we can. Again, a recording of the webinar will be emailed to all registrants and will be available at mccmag.com. Thank you very much to all our presenters and for our attendees for joining in today. Thank you also to Get Wireless and Sierra Wireless for serving as the sponsors. That concludes our webinar. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.